Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to this video on that 70s rock fan channel. That's me. And I'd love to welcome a dear friend of mine, a man whose musical experience and knowledge is unparalleled in his own household. Uh, my great friend, Mr. Alan at Grange. How are you, my
I'm
friend?
just fine and very pleased to be here. And I've just got my lucky British Railways tea mug,
You
always
do.
standing by for keep me going.
What's lucky about it?
It's just in my mind. I like
Interesting mind.
railways,
That's right. Indeed. I know you do. You're a
Yeah,
big
I've
trip.
been sweating it out here in Southern California. It's been hot and humid, very uncomfortable. But I finally got back to work a couple of days ago, and this is great. I was at the airport meeting executives from this company called Morrison Foster.
Okay.
And so somebody had the bright idea of making signs and just abbreviated it to MOFO, mofo.
Homophobes.
So
I like that.
yeah, I thought that was
Yes.
very appropriate. Welcome,
Most of the
mofo.
most of the executives I've ever known would have fitted into that category.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but actually, these
Uh,
were very cool people. But it was just, that's the kind of thing I'm dealing with. In
nice.
my ordinary life now, I've got insanity.
Well, I'm very pleased that you were able to join me today for
Oh,
this recording. A little bit unusual in that we're actually going to celebrate the life of two people.
yeah.
Um, and as you know, you and I know, as we're getting older, we're reaching the stage where all of our classic rock compatriots and heroes and artists are sadly passing away. Just the passage of time is doing this to us, and I guess it's a steady stream of these.
This year, the roadie Barry from the Average White Band, I hear he died about 10 days ago.
Oh dear,
Don't
I'm
quite know
sorry
any
to
more
hear
about
that.
it, but he was, I mean, he was about the same age as me. So yeah, there's quite
Yeah.
a few people gone this year.
Yeah, and it is just that, obviously the passage of time, which
Yeah,
is inexorable.
right.
And the reason I wanted to, it's slightly unusual in that I wanted to talk about two guys in this recording today. And the connective tissue is that you actually knew both of these gentlemen,
That's right.
worked with them and knew them, which I thought, well, let's not. I don't want to minimize the passing of either of them, but let's put them together in one recording and
Yeah.
talk about them. Uh, and some of your experiences and seeing them working
Mm.
live and having had that experience as well, so we can talk about them as artists and as people that you worked with. And really, the first of these two gentlemen that and I'll add some. I'll be adding images over the top of this recording later. This is how the sausage is made. First of the two guys I wanted to talk about is this gentleman here, is Mr. Terry Reid.
Right.
Terence James Reid from Huntingdon, England. Now, Terry Reid is a guy that I, it's like many people, I'd heard of him and I'd heard of his reputation and I knew of all the things that other people said about him, but I wasn't entirely familiar with all his material as an artist. I think the first track that I really, as a teenager, really knew of him from was a track called Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Peace, which was actually covered by Cheap Trick, which is why I went, oh, who's Terry Reid wrote that,
Yeah.
and then looked back on that. So, but I believe that you encountered Terry way back in the distant past.
Oh yeah.
So, how did you know Terry?
Well, I started out with a band in Hartlepool, very low on the totem pole, and one of my first gigs with them was in a pub, a music room in a pub in Middlesbrough, and we were the opening act for the Terry Reid Fantasia, which was
Okay.
Terry Reid on vocals and guitar, and Pete Solly on keyboards, and Pete Solly on keyboards, and Keith Webb. They went on to be
Oh,
a
right.
band called Paladin. So it was a sort of a power trio. No bass player. I presume the organ player played bass pedals.
Bass pedals, yeah.
And I remember this was the first sort of contact I'd had with any kind of up close to any, real musicians. I mean, look, the guys I was working with were local lads and they were good, but we walked in and he's doing a sound check, which we didn't know we didn't do sound checks. We never even heard of it.
Can you
But
hear
there he
it?
was. He's on
That's
stage with this trio. And it was just something you just go, oh my God, this is like this is super. You realize you're in the presence of a real talent. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize until he passed away that he's younger than me, because he
Oh
just had
dear.
such a presence and such a commanding voice and everything and personality.
Yeah.
I just felt like he was much more experienced and older. He'd been on the road for about 5 years already because he started
Well,
young.
he could. Yeah. So he was born in 1949, November 49. So
I was March. I was ahead of him, but
yeah.
he'd had
So
experience with Peter J and the Jaywalkers, so
the
he'd done the
Jaywalkers.
circuit. He'd been around, but it was just like he just had a really great presence, great image too. I mean, he really had that. 1968, the rock look, the hair, the
Well, look
earrings.
at him here, and I think that's his debut album.
Yeah, Mickey Most produced it. I think that was probably the
Yeah.
only disappointing part of it. So
Well, yeah.
he just
The
had such a
Svengali.
presence, and he was playing. I think if he had like a black Les Paul. I mean, we were just in awe. And I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you anything about music. I just remember it was a sort of a power trio, keyboards, drums, and him,
Yeah.
and it was very exciting. And we had a little interaction with him, but didn't really, we were just the opening act. I was a bit
Yeah.
overawed by it, but it was great.
But
And a perfect little gig, a music room in a pub. I mean, fantastic.
nice. Oh, that's an incredible experience. When you think back, and it's the sort of thing, if you had a time machine, you'd go back and do it again.
I always remember. Yeah, I remember the one song that stood out for me. It did a Ray Charles. "I've Got News for You," like a jazz blues, and that stuck in my mind for my whole life.
Well, that was a big feature of Terry Reid's career, is that he was incredibly versatile and varied. So rock, soul, R&B, blues, jazz, world music, Latin, a whole range, folk, an entire range of material that the guy could master. Although I think he eventually could more gravitated towards a hard rock, sort of a modern hard rock sound with Rogue Waves. But uh, his vocals were renowned. And you obviously heard that at that gig, and then later, obviously, you worked with him and you heard him singing. Super Lungs was his nickname.
Yeah.
So just how good was he live that you
It was
recall?
tremendous. I mean, he had such a passionate delivery. Like I said, I'm a local yokel and had never really been around it, and I'd seen stuff on Top of the Pops on telly and stuff. But you were singing live. He just had a great range. A lot of dynamics in his voice. I personally didn't like the high end of the screaming bits so much as I did the rest of the songs, but he was very soulful and intense. Once he started singing, he was into it.
Well, Aretha Franklin praised him highly. I mean, she said he was one of the top 3 acts in the UK. And he was such a renowned vocalist. I mean, he was a brilliant guitar player too, but such a renowned vocalist that he's famous in many ways for what he didn't do.
Yeah.
So he would turn down Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And he turned down Deep Purple, which because he rightly wanted to do his own thing. And of course, who knew whether those things would be a success or not anyway.
And he was being groomed a bit. He was being groomed a little by Mickey Most and things like that. So
Mickey Most had his finger in a number of pies as a Svengali.
Right.
I mean, even recently I was talking about Mary Hopkin. He had some of control of some of her career for a while. Jeff Beck.
Yeah, well,
guys, and so Mickey Most was the Svengali, so to speak.
Yeah, he drove Jeff Beck crazy when Jeff wanted to do something. No, he wouldn't do any retakes and stuff.
Yeah, so
he was a bit out of his time by then. Mickey Most, he wasn't keeping up.
Well, he was more of I always thought of him as more of a don't sleep in the subway type, Sandy Shaw, whatever.
Tin Pan Alley kind of guy.
Well, maybe not Sandy Shaw. I'm thinking of who was the girl who became a big hit in France, English singer, girl singer.
Jane Birkin?
No, he'll come back to me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
For a second, I thought you were going to say about Mickey Most having his fingers in a lot of pies, and then you mentioned Mary Hopkins. I was hoping you were.
Well, I didn't mean the Liverpool sense of fish and finger pie. I can't. It's going to come back to me, the name of the girl singer that was Mickey Most worked with. But yeah, so he had this great reputation, and a lot of bands wanted him to join. His vocals were renowned, but he also opened for a number of big acts and big tours like Cream, the Stones, Fleetwood Mac, and that would be Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac at the time,
Oh, yeah, back then,
on
yeah.
European tours and American tours. So I guess it would have been a bit formidable following a guy like him, having him as your opening act.
Well, I think so. Yeah, I'm sure there's a few
It's
people
like,
who put him on ahead of us. Yeah,
look at
I
the-
actually found a bootleg tape of him playing at the Fillmore West, I think, back
Yeah.
at the end of '68 live. You can check him out on that. I forget which site it was on.
I
You can get
might go
things
look for
online.
that. It's probably somebody's
And
got
in
it on
between
YouTube.
songs, in between songs, he's very South England, mate. Kind of. I can't do the accent, but he had a very strong, very British accent, which always goes down well in the
Well, he's
States.
from Huntingdon, and I'm not quite sure where Huntingdon is.
It's just north of London, on the
It's
London
north
North Eastern Railway.
North London.
North of London, yeah.
Petula Clark, that's who I was thinking of.
Well, I was going to say Petula Clark, but I thought you were referring to somebody else.
That was more Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, downtown and all
didn't
that.
He write Crossroads, the Crossroads theme? I might be wrong.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, so he actually played at the first Glastonbury.
That's right.
And he did the Isle of Wight. So he was right in there with the rock aristocracy of his era.
Yeah.
And it's always been lamented by many people that he didn't become as famous as those guys. I don't know what you feel about that, why that is.
Yeah. Well, he had to go on after Stackridge at the very first Glastonbury Festival. They were the very first band on ever.
I know. We talked about that.
We talked about them before. So yeah, I think I guess he was. I can't say I never had a conversation with him about it, but at the time, the doors were open for expressing yourself. I think that's how I see it. They weren't just like Mickey Mouse was trying to package him and overproduce his records, and I think he just kind of knew what he wanted to do and didn't want to limit himself.
Yeah.
But the possibilities in 68, 69, 70. There's new things opening up all the time, like new for rock and roll, bigger events, and the Beatles had their first satellite transmission. It was very exciting, and I think he just wanted to be himself and not just be packaged. That's how I think.
Yeah, and he certainly did that with these albums over the years, because as we said earlier, it's lots of different styles that he was a master of, but also a number of the number of people he collaborated with, right up to. Like from Bonnie Raitt to Dr. Dre,
That's right, at the very end, yeah, he was
incredible collaborator for many people, because I think he gravitated towards a lot of session work in later years. And again, it must have been pretty. If you're a singer, it must have been pretty intimidating to have a guy like him being your backing vocalist.
I try to visualize the studio sessions,
Yeah, Super Lungs is behind me,
Yeah.
But, it's a sad thing that I don't know. Perhaps he was incredibly happy with his career, but that he didn't reach the heights of some of his contemporaries. And I'm probably thinking from a vocalist perspective, people like Rod Stewart.
Like I said, I met him that time near Hartlepool, and our paths would cross regularly here in California because he lived in Hollywood, and so. Met him loads and loads of times when he was off duty, and he always had a little look in his eyes. You could say he was striving, and I wouldn't know whether he probably was up and down about it, because he never, like you say, he never quite cracked it. He had the album The River everybody was raving about, and that didn't quite propel him, but he always just seemed like he was always looking for his next gig, always looking to perform. And the next real contact I had with him was when he made that album, Rogue Waves. And it was at a little studio in Santa Monica, which was owned, I think, by Dennis Wilson, the Beach Boys drummer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it was just a very tiny little place. And I don't know what I was doing there. I think I just went in each day, cleaned up, turned the amps on, and, emptied the ashtrays, just there as a support. I don't know that I tuned any guitars or anything, but I was sitting right there. And he was in his, I won't say he was crazy, but he had a manic side to him. And he's smoking a cigar, drinking Jack Daniels, power chords. I think he was getting into
He was a bit more heavy or hard rock on this one.
He was really trying, but that picture doesn't do it. It looks a bit wishy-washy, that picture.
It looks like the Demise Roussos of rock there.
I think he was trying to be more like meaty, and some of the songs on the album are pretty good. And so I could see
a lot of covers on that one.
He was really animated. When he was animated, he was really animated, and he had this kind of cackle. If you had to see in the
Well,
interviews with him, it's great.
everything I've ever read about him was that he was a bit of a character, but he was also beloved
Yeah,
by people on the scene. I mean, you
that's
were on
right.
that scene
Yeah.
in the Britain in the late 60s, early 70s, a lot of people hanging out at the
And then
speakeasy,
in
whatever.
California,
He
80s and
was
90s.
very popular with people as a person, which is unusual in that business.
That's right. Oh yeah. I mean, there's a pub on Sunset Boulevard, not on the Strip, but further down. It was owned by a British musician, Kim Gardner of Ashton Gardner and Dyke,
Oh, yeah.
who I loved when he was in the English Birds. There's a whole list of things he did. But he also,
That's the BIRDS.
right,
Was it Ronnie Wood was in the Birds?
Ronnie Wood, yeah.
Yeah.
And so they were like my favorite band after the Kinks in about 65, 66. Anyway, he would be coming in that pub regularly. I don't think he was ever wasted and stuff, but we were all in there regularly. And so you'd have a quick chat and he'd be off. Then you might see him at a party. You might see him backstage at a gig. He was definitely on the scene. And unfortunately, about 2005, I think he was having some issues, some problems, maybe his disappointment. But there was a place called The Joint. I'm not putting him down. I wouldn't want to. I'm just saying, I think he was under some stress. There was a place called The Joint, which was a jam night. Waddy Wachtel, it was like a big
guitar player.
Everybody. He would be the kind of host, and people would show up and jam and sing. And Terry kind of went through a phase where he was just being a little bit erratic when he was on stage and kind of, anyway, I don't want to, but
lost focus.
After that, then I think that might have been frustration and chemicals and drink, who knows. But then after that, I heard that he found himself again and he was doing gigs in England, going down really well. And that was like nice to hear because I was concerned for him. I wasn't a friend enough, but I was thinking, I wonder if I can talk to him. Because
everybody goes through down periods, I guess. And that was
certainly been there once or twice. So like hopefully he got out of it. But then he got sick and I think he had cancer for.
He had some problems.
So,
poor guy.
But
yeah, an incredibly lauded guy in the business. A lot of musicians inspired by him. Including modern, the Chris Cornells and many other modern, or I call them modern, of course. Chris Cornell's his career started a long time ago, but he inspired many.
That's right.
Artists, which was hugely influential. As I say, I first found out about him other than hearing him, other than reading his name in music papers because of this Cheap Trick cover that I was really keen on in their first album.
Yeah.
And it's Terry Reid. Who is he? And you go looking him up and listening to that first album or whatever.
Yeah.
So I kind of came to him through another act that covered him. So
I mean, I like the first album. I think it's got "Stay With Me, Baby" on it with timpani. That's a bit Mickey Mouse-ish, but he sings really good on that one.
Well, that's a powerful vocal track. I mean, a lot of artists that are renowned for their singing have covered that. Yeah.
He covered a few girl singers things and Tamla Motown type of soul music. I think he was meant to be on tour right now, but they had to cancel it, obviously.
Yeah, an emotive, soulful singer, a great musician, sad loss. And he may not have had the stellar career that many of the bands that he was invited to join had, but he certainly left his mark.
Oh, absolutely.
On it. And so, R.I.P. to Terry Reid. And as I say in all these things, thank you for the music.
Thank you, Terry.
Terry. So another artist I wanted to talk about today, and I'm not sure that Terry Reid and Rick Davies of Supertramp ever worked together.
Not that I'm aware of.
But from a similar era and a similar, in some ways, a similar guy in that, like Terry Reid, Rick Davies, I think both of them could probably have walked down the street and not been recognized by the general public, if you want to put it that way. And that was after Supertramp had multi-million selling albums. Because they were not a band that had, high profile individuals that were recognizable stars in a sense. But I mean, I don't know whether that's something they just wanted to be more anonymous or whether it just is the way it was.
I think that's just the way Rick was. I mean, Terry looked, when he was at his peak, you would have looked, who's that? He was definitely had a
He looked like a star.
But Rick, could have been an accountant. But underneath that sort of drab exterior was a really soulful singer, and he loved R&B and blues. squeezes little things into these records that that's interesting. I got in the middle of some prog rock thing. There's a little jazz thing, very
Well, that's right.
underrated.
Little bluesy pieces or little that Wurlitzer piano sound.
Oh,
You just
he
slip
made
those
that his
little
sound. He made the world. It's a Goodbye Stranger. I mean, it's
Goodbye Stranger is.
yeah,
I mean, I don't want to be cliched, but it's one of the greatest records I've ever
yeah,
heard, and to this day, I adore that album, Breakfast in America. I mean, I was when I got that album, I think it was late '79, early '88 came out. I played that thing for years,
yeah.
like, and it was the sound of my late teenage years. That album and Goodbye Stranger is. I still remember driving in the car at night in the summer, having that blaring on the cassette player.
Yeah, there was like every other track was a monster.
Yeah, absolute monster of an album, and but very unassuming uh, individuals. Obviously, Rick Davies was he founded the band,
Yeah,
but Roger Hodgson and he had a great for many years had a great partnership. Obviously, it didn't end so well, but they and it's like a lot of bands. Supertramp were that double thing works like the Beatles with John and Paul. It kind of worked. They
yeah,
were
exactly.
different vocal style, slightly different songwriting style, but it seemed to work on when you put it on an album together.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean the balance and the contrasts and the kind of meshing of it. And
Yeah,
I worked with them in 85, 86 after Roger Hodgson left. And
yeah,
the music they had a gentleman's agreement, a legal agreement too, I think, that they wouldn't perform each other's songs. It wasn't
yeah,
like animosity, but it was just an understanding. So people that came to the gigs in Europe, we did the States and Europe. People were like, well, why aren't you singing these other songs?
yeah. Like give a
They
little
should have
bit.
they should have advertised it as Rick Davies of Supertramp, because people
Yeah,
kept
because
expecting Supertramp, and I'm not knocking them,
no,
but
no,
it was that Rick's songs have messages,
yeah.
whereas like Roger Hudson is often light and peppy and poppy,
Well, I mean, you look at
meaningful.
give a little bit. It's so
Yeah,
upbeat and
yeah. The words might be
joyful.
meaningful, but there's a Rick. Almost every chord was there was a meaning, and it was wonderful too. And so I just think there was a few people who might have been a bit disappointed. They kept going, they kept touring and doing stuff, but the band had no real image. And in the 80s, people were wearing like pink jackets and rolling up their sleeves. They were trying to make themselves look a bit more hip.
Yeah,
But they
yeah,
got Scott Page in because he was a flamboyant character, guitar, saxophone, flute. He had
some stage presence.
the ultimate mullet. He was a real
Yeah,
presence. So they
this
kind
this was the tour that you did was what 86, 87 with
this was at the Albert
Rick.
Hall.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did 2 nights at the Albert Hall, but they weren't 2 consecutive. It was the March the 8th and March the 10th. We had to take everything out because on the 9th there was some sort of national ladies'
oh
tea party.
jeez,
I'm not kidding. Spinal Tap. So we left all the lighting up. We
yeah.
had to take all the cables away and all the stage set and instruments and put them back in the truck.
So
And
what you're saying is the National Ladies Tea Party had the best lighting rig they've ever had.
that's right, yeah. So, and we also, because Charles and Diana came to say hello, we had to take all the equipment. No, the Albert Hall is not designed for rock and roll. So you would normally roll all the cases down the long corridors and line them up so you're ready to be wheeled back in after the show. They had
Yeah.
to be all taken out and put back in the trucks because of the security. And so that was a bit of work that we had to go back into the Albert Hall at 1 a.m. after the tea party and set it all up again.
So what was it like working with Rick in that era and doing that tour? Was it?
Well, he was handled by Sue, his wife manager.
Yeah.
He would turn up with a sound check, and I was the stage manager. I wasn't like his tech or anything. He had his
No.
own guy called Bernard, but he had a droll, dry sense of humor. He was from Swindon, a bit of West Country,
Swindon, yes.
and he was very quiet, but it's hard to explain. I didn't have a lot of real contact with him, but you could see that the camaraderie with him and all the guys was there.
Yeah, and I think
He
he
was very
poured.
comfortable, but he wasn't a rocker. He wasn't a screaming party animal at all.
He put it all into the music, and I mean, some of my favorite songs of all time. I was making a list earlier. "Ain't Nobody But Me." That's one of his. That's
I was playing. I went online last night just to freshen up a little bit, and I found there's a set list website, and they had one of the shows at the Albert Hall, and I was looking at the set, and I went through, and you could play tracks from the set list, and that was the one I got. I remember that one.
But yeah, Ain't
And
Nobody But Me is one of
yeah,
the Goodbye Stranger, Bloody Well Right, of course.
oh, that's incredible. Yeah,
From Now On.
the world is comes through on that.
Yeah, From Now On is a beautiful track.
Yeah, From Now On. Yeah, every song is just a bit too long in a way.
Yes.
Every song's 4 or 5 minutes, and sometimes you just want a 3-minute ditty.
So you're in this video, and we're going to play a few seconds. We'll probably get copyright. Probably get copyrighted to hell. This is, I think, Child of Vision from that tour.
Okay.
You're singing in the choir.
Right.
Coming up.
Great sound, you know. They had a great sound. They worked.
There you are, in the sunglasses in the middle.
Right in the middle. You can't see my right hand. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one of the big tracks from Breakfast in America, of course. But
right. It was a fun tour, but that was the hardest job I've had in my life. We did a European tour. We had 5 nights in Paris at the Palais de Sport at Bercy, which was fantastic. Paris, nights off. After that, it was one show in and out every day for the next 3 months. Wow. And I was in at the morning, out at night. I was the only non-smoker on the bus. I used to lay on the floor with a wet towel over my face.
So you're not really a non-smoker then, because you're smoking.
I wonder I don't have
secondary. It didn't do your hair any harm.
Didn't seem to, no. I've got stories about that too, but we're talking about Rick. I mean, he was an artist, you know, another one of these guys you respected. He was an artist. I never interfered with musicians and what they're doing, and they've had their managers and their agents. We're there to make it work. And he was polite, but he wasn't like a backslapping kind of party animal.
Oh, no. He was a pro.
He was a pro, and he was an artist. That's how I like
an artist, yeah. And it was, I mean, he was in there at the start of the band, and you know, he was a.
I've got a little something to show you. I'm sorry.
Oh, you got something? No, go ahead. Let me hide Rick's. Sorry, he's
when we did the European tour, the band went over to Europe to do a publicity promotion, because this is the first time they toured since Roger Hodgson left. So they did a big press junket on the Orient Express, and Dougie, who's if I can get this,
Dougie Hello.
Dougie's the bass player. He was a friend of mine and Alan from the Average White Band. He brought me this key fob from the hotel room on the train of the Vernon Simplon Orient Express.
Oh, wow. Well, he knew you like trains, of course.
Oh, anybody meets me knows within 2 minutes I like trains. Yeah.
What is a train? No, I'm just kidding. No,
no,
that's nice.
We just got a hydrogen-powered motorable unit operating in San Bernardino. Started today.
Oh,
Zero emissions. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. There's lots of hydrogen in the universe, so that's good.
That's right. And no pollution.
Indeed. So, other than the methane of the people on board. Depending what they're drinking. Depending what they're drinking.
You know, so another thing, I had an very early contact with Supertramp.
Well, I was going to ask earlier on.
Well, you'll appreciate this. This was Granny. I was not desperate. I wanted to be a roadie. I really wanted to be a roadie. I moved to London. I was doing horrible jobs just to be in London, gigging at night. And then I heard that this band were looking for a crew. There was a network. There was no cell phones, but it was just the word was out to go down to this place called The Cabin in Shepherd's Bush. Everybody will know it. It was just a long hallway. You could just about stand up with a boom microphone, and you'd be all lined up down. It wasn't room for too deep. There'd be a monitor cabinet at either end, and you'd rehearse. There was nothing more than that. So I get there, and it's Supertramp, the very first lineup, Roger and Rick. And Russell Sadelsky had just joined them. Now, I am from Hartlepool, moved to London. I was very rough and ready. And there was a Notting Hill Gate scene, like little shoulder bags, much more hippified. And these guys were like that. And so I got there and I said hello, and they were in the middle of stuff. And I just did not pick up any welcoming vibe. I hated what they were playing. I just stood there for a few minutes. I tried to engage Russell. He was doing this, whatever he's doing. And after about half an hour, I just see ya. I just didn't work out. But you know, not that they didn't do much. That first band, their first 2 albums didn't really do anything. So maybe
1970, wasn't it their first album? They had a Dutch millionaire backing them, so they had lots of cash.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I really wanted to be a roadie. I worked with just about anybody that would have me. There was just something about that just didn't feel right. And I like to be part of a team. I like to be in. And these are a bit too drippy, wishy-washy, or something. And I just walked away.
They were obviously very focused on what they were doing.
And of course, my career took off when I got the job with Gnidrolog. So,
Oh well,
no
it's
looking back
the
after that.
legendary Gnidrolog,
No
which
looking back after that. Yeah,
everyone should check out our video on that.
that's right.
Yes, maybe I'll put a link in the description. But Supertramp were a huge band for me. I mean, I'm a little bit younger than you. Well, actually, a lot younger than you.
Lot
No,
younger. I'm just well preserved.
so really, mid '70s were peak music discovery era for me as a young teenager, and Dreamer became a massive hit. And to this day, it still gives me kind of a chill when I hear that song.
Yeah.
Because it was just so, it seems so different, but the two sets of keyboards, the two vocals, just beautiful, beautiful song. I mean,
think they were very, very well produced without sort of seeming produced. There's just a great identifiable sound.
yeah,
Supertramp.
yeah, not over the top with instrumentation, just seemed to be extremely good at what they did, and beautifully constructed songs. But you know, right from that point on, I mean, they were big. I mean, they had a lot of big songs, but Breakfast in America, as I say, was and I know millions of people bought it, but it's a very special album for me, just because of the era that I had it in and listening to it. It just seemed to me to be a great atmospheric album.
Yeah. And they always had great album covers. The guy in the deck chair with the power station in the background on the one album.
Yeah.
The topless girl on one of the first ones.
Really? Topless girl? I can't have that.
Yeah. All tattooed tits. And then, the album covers were always interesting. And they were quirky and British. And I think at the time, it was fantastic.
Indelibly stamped?
Something like that, yeah.
That was it, yeah.
See, if I'd have known they were doing that, I might have stayed with them.
I saw yeah, exactly. I saw their music described as warm and resilient. And I think that's what it is. It was warm. It was always a very warm sound. Even the more cynical songs still sounded warm.
That was the thing when we got to do the 85, 86 tour, a little bit of that warmth wasn't there. Right. It was mainly Rick's thing. And there was one song on the album. Well, the album was called Brother, Where You Bound? And it's a magnum opus. It's 15 minutes long.
Well, Dave Gilmour's in it.
And we had a projection screen, like a massive projection screen, as well as the instrumentation. And there was all these images. And we're in Germany, and there's images of Nuremberg rallies and stuff. So it wasn't the lighthearted element. Was not quite there enough in a way. But one of the highlights for me on the tour was, I mean, I'd have been up all day. I'd probably laying on a flight case during the beginning. Once the show would start, you go, I can relax a bit and then be getting ready for the loadout. I would maybe stretch out on a flight case so I'm nearby. And in the middle of the show, I think it was, I'm not sure which song it was, maybe Bloody Well Right. Oh, no, Goodbye Stranger had an extended guitar solo.
I love the solo at the end. Yeah.
On the screen, and you might have seen this, there's an old black and white movie of the train, London to Brighton in 4 minutes. So it's from the front of the train, and it goes to all the side. I mean, I watched it every night because it's right up my street.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's interesting that Goodbye Stranger, Supertramp, for me, were mainly known as a keyboard band. I mean, it was two sets of keyboards mainly, and Roger did play guitar too. But Goodbye Stranger, given that they're a keyboard-oriented band, and one of the greatest guitar solos ever for me at the end.
I'm not sure who the guitarist was for that then.
Well, I always thought that was Roger Hodgson.
Maybe.
Because he did play guitar too. But I may be wrong. I mean,
but the tours I did, they had FNGs, fucking new guys. That's what they called them. The star guys, the main four. They had nicknames for everything. I'm going blank. But they had a guitarist and a couple of extra keyboard players but there was an actual lead guitarist.
Yeah, and I'm sure I will be corrected if I'm wrong and say, because I always thought that was Roger. It's a great piece of guitar and what was an awful lot of a keyboard-based band. But not that there's anything wrong with that. But Supertramp, fabulous band. Always will be one of my favorites. And so I'd like
Rick,
to.
Yeah,
thanks.
I have to say, Rick was very sick towards the end. I mean, I bumped into him and Sue in an airport at LAX, I think, about 10 years ago, and he was already starting to look a little.
He had 10 bad years, I think, the poor guy, and it's very sad. But rest in peace, Rick. Our condolences to your family, but thank you again for all the music.
Absolutely.
That you left us, which will be with us forever, and some of the Supertramp stuff, some of my favorite stuff of all time. So
Yeah, this is going to get me digging out some of the old cassettes.
me too. I had them all on cassette. That Breakfast in America cassette got worn thin. You could see through it. I played it so often. So anyway, thank you very much, Alan, for your contributions to this little tribute to these two great artists. I appreciate it very much, mate.
Rick and Terry, thanks, guys.
Rick and Terry, thank you, guys. Thank you to everyone for watching. Please leave your memories in the comments of these two great artists and help us celebrate their lives, which is what we like to do.
Right.
And hopefully we'll be back with more videos this time about people who are still with us.
That's right.
Hope. So till next time, everybody, stay well and keep on rocking. Cheers.
Cheers.